Honestly, who hasn't taken a walk through an old building and checked out the bookshelf for the trigger to open a secret passageway? This popular trope of old homes with secret staircases has been used in childhood films and TV shows, in mysteries ranging from Sherlock Holmes to Nancy Drew, and even in Harry Potter. Because we all want to go to Hogwarts still, let's be real. Fiction has given us a pretty unreasonable expectation of finding hidden passageways in any building over 50 years old. Sometimes, though, the true stories are stranger than fiction, ranging from eerie to odd to kind of sweet. Here are 10 secret hidden places people found in their homes. While we check out the place for secret passageways and trick walls, you can actually find our subscribe button pretty easily. Give it a click. Clicking that button will open up a passageway to all of our other interesting videos. Pretty cool find, right? Downton Basement in North Wales. You ever watch Downton Abbey and think, what happened to those old servants' kitchens when people stopped, having servants? Well, apparently in some cases, they just got buried behind piles of junk. The basement to this North Wales home had become a storage place for abandoned items until Archie and Philippa Graham Palmer moved in and started cleaning the house. The junk had risen so high that it completely covered the door to an old Victorian kitchen with all the works, an old 19th century cooking range, antique fire extinguisher, benches for all 20 servants and the household staff, and an old cookbook with recipes that take about 20 servants to actually create. The kitchen goes back to 1830, and it was used as an air raid shelter during World War II, but that much probably didn't come as a shock to Archie Graham Palmer, who inherited the home originally built in 1800 from his forefathers. Growing up, Archie's parents used the old butler's pantry on the ground floor as their main kitchen. Still, it's pretty cool to find a piece of his family history carefully preserved like that. Archie and Philippa, apparently fans of the popular Victorian soap opera himself, decided to clean the kitchen up and put it back into good use, probably with slightly fewer cooks at the helm this time. Locked and loaded secret room. The old loose baseboard against the wall. The trick-or-treat of a new home renovation. You never know when you pull back the board whether you'll find something valuable and interesting or just gross, or in some cases, strange and a little bit concerning. This was a scene set for one new homeowner. He had opted out of going through the house with a realtor, so it was only after he bought the house and began sifting through the previous owner's junk that he noticed a baseboard against the wall behind the stairs. It seemed out of place, so he moved it, and when he did, he found it had been hiding a small bunker. Inside, the small cubby carved out of concrete bricks looked like an NRA storage closet. The contents were mostly gun cases, with a few user manuals, so at least whoever set the room up wanted to be careful with their many guns. There was also a safe, even more guns, boxes full of ammunition, and thousands of pennies for some reason. Most unnervingly was one uncorked grenade, though thankfully, by the time anyone found it, it was a dud and covered in dust. It's hard to say what the previous owner was up to with his own little weapon room, or what was in that safe, since it was still locked. But maybe it's safer not to ask. Medieval well in Devon. You know how sometimes you're sitting around the living room feeling kind of thirsty, so you decide to reach into the old living room well for a drink of water. Wait, is that not a normal thing people have? Colin Steer and his wife seem pretty happy with theirs. In Devon, United Kingdom, what started as a frustration with an uneven floor in the living room turned into a pretty incredible find. Colin and his wife noticed that one section of the living room floor gave a little whenever someone walked across it, so they decided to do some renovations. While Colin was working on the structural beams of the room, he noticed a shaft filled with dirt. He started to dig, but he was soon stopped by his wife, who was worried about the danger for their young children. So he covered it back up, but his curiosity kept nagging at him. He decided when he retired he would keep digging and see what he could find. What he eventually found was an old well, 33 feet deep and tracing back to the 16th century. He also found an old sword. It looks like an old peasant's fighting weapon because it appears to be made up of bits of metal all knocked together, he said. He did a little research on his buried treasure and found that it was part of an aqueduct used by Sir Francis Drake. Colin now enjoys showing his well off to his friends when they come over, and who can blame him? That's so cool. Old-fashioned chapel. Urbexing party! Pat and Diane Farley decided to check out the metal grid they'd noticed in their bathroom when they had a few friends over. Their son was able to squeeze into the space beneath the grate, and with his uncle, they found a spacious cave with brick walls and an old chest. Among the finds in the chest were old newspapers from the early 1900s and bottles of wine and sherry. The real eye-catcher was the old cross lying on the floor. Combined with the seats around the wall, the family gathered that the space had once been an old chapel, but that was just one of the past lives of this hidden find. find? The family believes it was also at one time a pub, and the meat hooks on the wall suggest a butcher might have used the space at one point. Not much is known about any of the uses of the space before the Farleys found it, but they do know that the deeds to their detached house are over 230 years old. Who knows how many other things their secret room might have been before they found it? Pretty mind-blowing. Maybe now that they've found it, the Farleys can give it a new life, and 230 years from now, someone else will find it. And then... A polite warning. When you think of hidden places in your home, you think of secret passageways hidden behind bookshelves, right? I mean, I know I've been pretty disappointed that I've yet to pull a book off a shelf and accidentally open a door to a hidden staircase. But this family actually found the dream, of a sort. Jason and Carrie Brown in Greenville, South Carolina were so excited to find a 5-bedroom, 2-bath house on foreclosure at a cheap price that they decided not to look a gift horse in the mouth. They knew that it would be a fixer-upper, but it wasn't until they started renovations that they realized just how much fixing was required. When Carrie started to move out some old bookcases in the bedroom, she noticed something strange behind the shelf. A hidden passageway that led to a secret room. Hello, if you're reading this, then you found the secret room. I owned this house for a short while, and it was discovered to have a serious mold problem. One that actually made my children very sick, to the point we had to move out. After talking to the previous owner, the couple hired an environmental engineer who said, "We found readings that were 4 or 5 times higher compared to outside levels. On a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the worst, I'd say this house was a 7. Yikes! Needless to say, the Browns got out of there and sued the broker. Underground Railroad. Then, sometimes you find hidden rooms that are not just a small part of a family's personal past, but a significant part of history. Alexandra Poulos of Pennsylvania used to have dreams about finding secret rooms in her house, but she never thought they were anything more than that, just dreams. Well, just dreams and a story from her old neighbors that used to say, "There's a basement under your basement." But when she bought her beloved childhood home, a white colonial house, and started renting it out, those dreams became a reality. The house, while beautiful, was old, and Poulos was constantly responding to work requests from tenants. That, and finding out about a link to the Underground Railroad near her home, prompted her to take a different look at the home she'd always known. She asked her tenant Jerry to do some digging in the basement. The next day, she got a call. He had found a secret room 14 feet below her basement. Although local historians say the room could have been used for any number of purposes, don't count out the Underground Railroad. The area of Pennsylvania was known for abolitionist sympathizers, and with a known link so nearby, anything is possible. Poulos and Jerry are figuring out the next steps to uncovering what the purpose of the room was. Somebody's watching. From weird to historical to just plain scary, a young brother and sister of this family were roughhousing when they stumbled upon a secret staircase behind a bookshelf in the master bedroom. They decided to follow the spiral staircase down to a hidden crawl space, where they found evidence of someone living there. In their walls! Among other things, they found blankets, an old key, no one's quite sure what it unlocks, and some creepy-looking dolls. The police were contacted, but said that if anyone was living there, it was probably only temporary. Still, they sent DNA to the lab and are searching for the squatter, whoever and wherever they may be. The 15-year-old daughter who shared the story says they won't be staying in the house just as a precaution. Her parents have also told her and her brother they're never allowed in the secret passageway again. One commenter on Imgur said, "Have you considered the possibility you might be living in a horror film? Well, now I have. Eesh." Find the secret room. Sometimes, when you're a landlord with a secret room, you have to have a little fun with it. At least, that's what this Norwegian landlord seems to think. When a group of students moved into her house, she told them that there was a secret room in the house, but didn't tell them where it was, knowing they wouldn't be able to help themselves. Who cares about grades when you have a hidden room to find? So, in May of 2013, the search began. After hours of searching, they finally checked the attic. Really? Wouldn't that be your first guess after basement? And ended up finding the room by accident when one of the students stopped to stretch. As soon as the wall moved beneath her leg, she knew she was onto something. Behind a small section of wood paneling, they found a tiny opening to a World War II hideout. But despite the size, it's possible that a whole family was able to hide away in that room. An alarm was wired to the wall to warn the family in case the room was ever entered, and there was a note left on the stairs. In Norwegian it says, "If you have a bad stomach, you do not have access." You have to wonder about the story that made that note a thing. To make the hidden room extra creepy, the students found one lone doll-sized shoe left in the middle of the floor. Ugh. Haunted House Finds. The old Victorian Winchester mystery house in San Jose, California, has a reputation as a haunted mansion, so any eerie hidden finds shouldn't come as a surprise. The attic space in the home was boarded up in 1906 after an earthquake trapped Sarah Winchester in the small room. She blamed evil spirits, and when she died in 1922, the room was left boarded up for over 90 years. Finally, in 2016, the preservation team that now cares for the home decided to open it back up and see what was inside. Inside, they found a pump organ, a Victorian couch, a dress form, sewing machine, paintings, and basically what you would expect to find in an old Victorian attic. This is not the first room to be discovered in the Winchester Mystery House. The preservation team has found a total of 161 rooms, 10,000 windows, 2,000 doors, 47 fireplaces, 40 staircases, 13 bathrooms, and 9 kitchens. Phew! It's no wonder that Winchester Mystery House is a state and local landmark and counted in the National Archives of Historic Places. I also think I know where I want to go for Halloween this year. Family treasures. It just goes to show, no matter how long you've lived in a house, it can still surprise you. Ricardo Bush of Hamtramck, Michigan, had lived in his home for years before he decided to do some renovations. As he started to take out a wall in the top room of his house, he was surprised to find a hidden room hiding behind the wall, and even more surprised to find 2 old trunks sitting in the secret room. Both had a name on them, Daniel Kozak. But since Ricardo had never heard of a Daniel Kozak, and the trunks looked long abandoned, he opened them up, expecting clothes or coins. What he found instead were old family photos dating back to the 1920s and letters written in Russian and Polish. This story, however, doesn't just end with the cool find. Ricardo knew that any of these old pictures and letters might be important if any of the Kozak's family was still out there, and as it turns out, they were. After the story reached the news, Kathy Nadala Zakruski in South Carolina came forward, recognizing the pictures of her father, Kozak's stepson, when he was younger. She told Ricardo that Kozak built the home himself, but the rest of the family never knew about the secret room. She even told him a little bit about Kozak himself. He'd walk around the house playing his accordion, singing Russian or Polish or something. Ricardo sent the trunks to Kathy, who plans to have the letters translated into English. Well, we ended on a sweet note that hopefully makes up for some of the spookier stories, but we hope you enjoyed the video. While you're here, give us a like and subscribe to our channel. We have plenty of neat videos just like this waiting for you to find them. See you next time!